Back to the Future. Back to the Future is one of the few movies on this list that I've actually seen, and I don't know that! So my only hope of beating this game is to get lucky on one of these quizzes. Ah!
You need to watch more movies.
Oh, crap! Ah! Son of...
You need to watch more movies.
And you need to shut the hell up, you let... Stop! Ah! What is the purpose of a game? To be played. And why does one play video games? To have fun. So if the purpose of a game is to bring entertainment, why do you persist in playing a game that does not bring entertainment? You know what? He's right. To hell with this. Universal Studios Theme Park Adventure sucks. The game has 6 minigames that range from awful to mediocre, a tedious fetch quest, an annoying as hell quiz, and that's it. You can see everything that the game has to offer over the course of an afternoon, and the game has 0 replay value. This game is an interesting experiment, I'll give it that, but the game is just not fun to play. And what's the point of playing a game that isn't fun? Now, I am so tired of these licensed pieces of crap. I'm going to go play something else. Anything else. Hey, you. Subscribe to our videos. Unarmed civilians cause you to take a huge chunk of damage, and since the game only replenishes your health one time outside of finding health power-ups, health is something that you can never get enough of in this game. What sucks is that civilians run through your field of fire all the damn time! Sometimes when you try to shoot an enemy at the edge of the screen, a civilian will run into the screen too quickly for you to react, and you'll shoot him on accident. What is wrong with you people? Stop running into the gunfire! Move, bitch, and get out the way! What's worse is that a good chunk of the enemies are programmed to move in front of or behind a fleeing civilian. A few pixels off with your aim, and you screw yourself. How in the hell are you supposed to be that accurate if you're using the light gun? Civilians also die and cause you to take damage if they're near a vehicle when you shoot a grenade at it, forcing you to put off shooting at the armored vehicle that's cutting you to shreds until the dumbass civilian gets out of the way. It's like this game is going out of its way to be an asshole! The game tells you that there are 6 stages, but there's actually 7, because at a completely random point in between stages, you'll get jumped by a group of foot soldiers. The instruction manual doesn't tell you that, by the way. There's one other major thing that the manual doesn't tell you that bugs the hell out of me. In case you hadn't noticed by now, not while playing it. The first time that I played the game, I got 1 continue. The second time that I died, the game was over. Another time that I played, I was allowed to continue 3 times before getting a game over. Why? I don't know. The manual doesn't say anything about getting continues. It was while I was scouring the manual for hints that I found something truly disturbing. This game has 4 levels. The 6 stages that are listed when you start up the game, those stages make up the first level. There are 3 more identical levels after this that actually increase in difficulty. Are you freaking kidding me? You're telling me that this is the easy mode? I can't get past the first and easiest level of the game! In desperation, I checked online to try and find some cheats for this game, because every time that I try to play it, I get my ass kicked. I went to GameFAQs and I found invincibility, infinite ammo, and level select cheats for a Game Genie, which doesn't do me any good on the Virtual Console. In an interesting twist, the GameFAQs walkthrough also straight up tells you to not even attempt to play the game unless you've got the light gun. Why? Because the author of the walkthrough feels that the game is far too difficult to complete without the light gun's speed and accuracy. Gee, thanks. That would have been nice to know before I wasted $5 on this piece of crap. The only useful thing that the walkthrough told me was the deal with the game's continues. You're allowed to die once in each stage. If you die twice in one stage, the game is over. But here's the catch. If you die during the prison or airport stages, which is where you rescue the hostages, you're not allowed to continue. The game just ends immediately. What the hell kind of sense does that make? You get 1 continue in every stage except for the 2 most difficult ones? That's bullcrap! In the 5th and 6th stages, you have to rescue the 5 hostages. Of course, the hostages march very slowly across the screen, and if all 5 of them die, you get a game over. Since the hostages are also considered as civilians, shooting a hostage or allowing one to die causes you to lose a crap ton of health and die anyway. The prison stage is 2 stages after the village stage, so the health boost that you got is long gone by this point. The prison and airport levels also have a punishingly high number of helicopters in each of them. Long story short, I die. Everybody dies. I can't get past both the prison and airport levels without dying, which wouldn't be a problem if the game didn't take away your continues during the 2 hardest stages. I read that you get to see a message from the president if you manage to beat a level, but I tried my best. I can't beat this first level. Operation Wolf is one of those games that just completely and utterly defeated me. The game is way too difficult for its own good, and playing it is a lot more stressful than fun in my opinion. Maybe if you have it on the actual NES and you play it with the light gun, it's more fun, but that doesn't fix my main issue with this game. Why in God's name is the game designed to be nigh unplayable without the light gun? That doesn't make any sense! I suppose that they allow you to use the controller so that you can still play the game if you don't have the light gun or if your light gun doesn't work anymore, but why would anybody want to play a gallery shooting game without the light gun? Could you imagine playing Duck Hunt without a light gun? Could you imagine shooting down those ducks using a cursor and with the NES controller stiff as hell control pad? I can. It would fucking suck! Screw accessibility. Just put a sticker on the game that says, "Do not buy unless you have a light gun, you shithead." That way people would know not to waste money on your game unless they can play it properly. In case I haven't made my point abundantly clear, screw Operation Wolf and screw the nitwit that put it on the Virtual Console. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to go back to playing licensed games because if I'm going to play some crap, I might as well play crap that I have an attachment to. Come on! Oh my God! I have never seen anything like this in a game in my life. What the hell is wrong with this stupid game? Why can't I turn to face the damn door? I swear to God, I am not doing this on purpose. Move, goddammit! Finally. It doesn't help that a lot of the levels are dark and corridors have a tendency to deform into utter blackness. When the corridors dissolve into complete blackness, you end up swimming into a wall so that you get stuck again. Oh, and sometimes the game forces you to sneak around squids that for some reason drain most of your health if you cross their vision. They put these squids in tight areas where you have to hug floors or other surfaces to avoid them, and that results in getting stuck in a wall too! Piling on top of the game's dreadful navigation is the game's abysmal draw distance. You can barely see anything beyond your face. Because the game's draw distance is so bad, the game puts a little objective marker on your minimap to guide you through the levels. The problem is that the marker points straight toward your next objective, whether there's a wall in your way or not. It doesn't guide you through the level, it just gives you a vague general direction to head towards. It is confusing as hell and dozens of boats! What were they thinking? All of these problems, abysmal navigation, horrible camera, non-existent physics engine, these problems pile up to make the game incredibly frustrating to play. They're also all problems that could have easily been picked up in playtesting. Then again, playtesting would have required spending money on playtesters, and you can tell that this game's budget was somewhere around $10. So the gameplay is bad. Really, really bad. But what about the game's story? Yes, there actually is a story to this game beyond Jaws goes places and eats people. The story of the game revolves around the evil CEO of a marine activism company who's conducting nefarious experiments on fish. This pisses off Jaws, and being Jaws, he goes out to get himself some revenge. That's literally all that I was able to understand about the game's plot. The game's story is told through these incredibly cheap cutscenes, and most of the cutscenes are just people yelling at the evil fat man because Jaws is destroying all of his stuff. The game's cutscenes don't tell you anything. Why is the evil fat man experimenting on fish? What is the evil fat man doing to the fish that's so evil? I don't know. The closest thing to an explanation that the game gives you is that the evil fat man wants to build a utopia, but the game never explains what the guy's utopia is, what his utopia will do, or how fiddling around with fish will create his utopia, or even what he's doing to the fish to create the utopia. The game explains nothing! The utopia crap isn't even mentioned until almost the end of the game. Up until then, you don't even have an inkling of the evil fat guy's plans or motivations. You spend the entire game not knowing what you're doing or what your objectives are. You swim around eating people and smashing up ships, and you have no idea why. You want to know how awful the game's storytelling is? Near the end of the game, you finish a level and swim off into the distance like normal, and then, with zero explanation, the game immediately cuts to a cutscene of Jaws stuck in the evil fat man's lab. Zero explanation, zero transition. I didn't edit this footage. This is seriously what happens. Jaws gets captured by the evil fat guy off screen. The game doesn't have any narrative structure. It's frustrating because you know that the game is trying to tell a story, but you have no idea what the story is because it's told so poorly. And don't bother checking Wikipedia or GameFAQs to read about the game's story because I already did. This game doesn't have its own Wikipedia page and the GameFAQs entry is almost completely blank. I understand that you can't give Jaws an inner monologue because that would be too stupid even for this game, but you have to give us something. Tell the story through the eyes of the good marine biologist who gets sucked into the evil fat man's plans. Have him narrate what Jaws is doing and what he's intending to do. Finding a way to tell your crappy story should not be the hardest part of making a game. It's telling a story that isn't crappy that's problematic. Another problem that I'm having with modern games, Jaws Ultimate Predator is too damn easy. Up until the game's last few levels, I only came close to dying once, and that was because I didn't realize the enemies were respawning infinitely and I wasn't paying attention to my health. The only reason why the last few levels are difficult is because the game starts forcing you to fight swarms of enemies without taking a break. And even these fights aren't that bad if you remember to run away and find some health when you're running low. What the hell is that? Objective, defeat the plesiosaurs? What? Plesiosaur is a dinosaur, right? What in the... Where did they get that? I'm sorry. I don't know what to say to that. What could I possibly say to that? Jaws is a series of horror movies about a killer shark hunting and killing increasingly stupid people. How in the hell did we go from that to a killer shark fighting genetically enhanced dinosaurs? Is Universal trying to cross Jaws over with Jurassic Park and make some weird-ass Avengers game? It makes no sense! And again, the genetically enhanced dinosaurs are never explained. Just boom, out of nowhere you're fighting dinosaurs. Why and how did the evil fat man make dinosaurs? The game doesn't even attempt to explain it. You can't do that! Explain yourself, damn it! Explain! And on top of all that, after I beat the game, I checked the Wii's message board to see how long I'd spent playing the game. Counting the time that I spent wandering around levels trying to figure out where to go because the game's crappy map left me stranded and lost, and including 5 minutes to use the bathroom, it took me 3 hours and 2 minutes to beat this game. That is inexcusable! I don't know if I'm delusional, but I thought that this game had a lot of potential. What other game do you get to play as a shark swimming around and eating things? I think that this game could have been great, but between the repetitive combat, numerous glaring basic game design flaws, complete lack of challenge, nearly complete lack of story, and inexcusably short length, this game just falls flat at every turn. It is pretty funny to see how completely bizarre the game is, but that novelty isn't enough to make this game worth buying. I checked online after I finished the game. This game doesn't have its own Wikipedia. NES. I mean, everybody talks about this game as being one of the greatest NES games to ever grace the planet, and Nintendo has ported Metroid like 4 times and even remade it, so I figured downloading and playing the NES Classic would be really fun. Bad idea. Really bad idea. Metroid on the NES is one of the most confusing, poorly designed, bass-ackwards, moon logic games that I have ever played, and I despise this game with every fiber of my being! So, you play as Samus Aran, an intergalactic bounty hunter who's sent to the planet Zebes to destroy a legion of space pirates and to kill their leader, the Mother Brain. The game is a side-scrolling adventure game where you explore a massive world finding power-ups and shooting at enemies. Sounds pretty simple, but this game does pretty much everything wrong. The adventure elements suck, the shooting elements suck, and the exploration elements, we'll get to that. Right off the bat, when you first turn the game on, you get your first test of the soul. In most side-scrollers, you head to the right of the screen to advance, but if you do that in Metroid, you run into a dead end. You have to head to the left to get the Morph Ball power-up, and then you can head to the right to pass through the dead end. On one hand, that's kind of a clever puzzle to prey on gamers' reliance on gaming tradition. On the other hand, this is your first warning sign as to whether you can follow this game's moon logic or not. Fun fact, the designers of this game invented the Morph Ball because they didn't want to have to program crouching animations for Samus. One of Samus's most signature abilities came about because this game's developers were lazy. Actually, that's not even the tip of the iceberg on how lazy this game's developers were. After you pass through the tunnel with the Morph Ball at the start of the game, you come across a tall vertical shaft with some doors leading off of it. I want you to take a really good look at this screen right here. 4 platforms laid out 90 degrees away from each other. 3 of the platforms are 3 blocks wide, and the bottom platform is about 4 blocks wide. I'm going to demonstrate how terribly designed this game is by keeping count of how many times this one screen is copied and pasted into the game's map. Seriously, entire rooms are copied, pasted, and reused heavily throughout the game. Do you have any idea how annoying it is to play an exploration game, a game where the entire point